Man, guys, I'm so excited for you to hear this interview with Jason Evers. He travels the world, been to 27 countries. He does business coaching, consulting, and speaking, but he started out as a window cleaner in Florida. He has a really nice automated business down there, been in business since 1993. Today, he's personally mentored by a billionaire. He's shared the stages with so many celebrities. It's just ridiculous. You're going to love it. But I want to make sure that you know that this week, on Thursday, we're revealing Voicemail Bomb. So with Send Jim, we have Radius Bomb, unbelievable. So many thousands of businesses using it, loving it. Now we have Voicemail Bomb, which is an incredibly powerful feature that's also included in your Send Jim account. But I'm going to show you what it is and teach you how you can deliver ringless voicemails right into your current customers' cell phones to remind them of appointments and to thank them after jobs are done and things like that. It's very powerful. I'd love for you to join me. If you're not already a Send Jim customer, you can at least check it out. This Thursday at 8 p.m., just go to sendjim.io/pre-launch. PRELAUNCH. Sendjim.io/pre-launch. Let's get to the interview.
Welcome to the Quick Talk Podcast with Joshua Latimer, where we discuss business, life, family, faith, struggle, fire, pain, and ultimately winning.
It's time to take massive action. Look, I can't work harder on your life or business than you do. It's ultimately all on you. God created all the food the birds would ever need, but he doesn't put it in their nest. You've got to go get it. 10 out of 10 people die. So how about doing something today that actually matters while you still can? Hey everybody, Josh here. Welcome to the Quick Talk Podcast. I am excited, as usual. Have I ever done a podcast and not been excited? I don't think so. But today I'm particularly excited because the interview I'm doing right now, or about to do, is literally the result of me persevering, of me doing multi-touches and being a broken record and bothering and bugging and harassing Jason Evers. Jason, you got to come on my podcast. And he's really busy. He travels the world. He speaks. He does high-level business consulting in countries all over the place. But he originally started in the cleaning business, which is fascinating. He's a good guy. He's a family guy. And I finally pinned him down. Jason, how the heck are you?
I'm doing wonderful, Josh. Good to hear from you, bro.
Well, thanks for letting me weasel you into this thing finally. I know that you love to help and that you want to do an interview, but you're just a busy guy. So I'm very grateful that you're here.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to be here, and you took my first plug right out. I was going to say, man, if you ever wanted to learn from anybody that follows through, and we talk about being relentless, especially when you're new in business, man, I got to tell you, I've been asked to do a lot of things, and I usually say no, just because of what you said. Is my time is valuable, and if I'm home, I'm usually spending time with my family. But just because of the fact that you are so relentless and you don't give up, but not in a bad way, always in a positive way. Every time you followed up with me, it was, hey, Jason, I know you're traveling the world. Hopefully things are going great. Just wanted to chime in if you ever get the opportunity. And you just kept following up. So you're always adding value with your follow-ups. And I think that is a great skill set that you have, brother, and that's why I'm doing this.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate it. And there's a short list of people that I just think it's important to get recorded, get a recording with, because I view myself as like the warrior that has to go out on behalf of all these thousands of small businesses across the country and find people like you to get nuggets from you, because you just have a lot of experience. So, let's get right into the gold. Give us a brief overview of your background. I mean, way back in 1993, you started a window cleaning business. It's still operating today, although you don't run it. Help us understand your career path and where you started and where you are now.
Yeah, that's true. So it's funny to me when you say a lot of experience. It used to be I was always pride myself on the fact that I was this young kid out there hustling. And everyone always says, "Well, you're too young to run a business." I was 23 years old. So now everyone says you have so much experience. You've been in business so long, and I think that just makes me feel old. So it's like I'm not that young entrepreneur anymore. And I got the gray hairs to prove it. But yeah, man, it was just I always look at it as, I've been an entrepreneur since the day I was born, Josh. I know you have some kids, and I kind of, read about you and listened to some of your early podcasts. And you talking about, hey, I started my kid with the little candy machine, and they had the vending, and I've always been that entrepreneur. As a young kid, I always just realized that if I wanted the things in life that I wanted, I was going to have to go out and hustle and make it happen. The other thing were my teachers were very supportive, and my father was very supportive in the fact that they urged me to be an entrepreneur. But they never mentioned the word entrepreneur, and they never urged me in that way. All they kept saying my whole life was, listen, you better go work for yourself because you don't listen to anybody.
That is honestly, as funny as that is such a common thread among entrepreneurs. We're those people. We got like a 2.6 GPA, not because we didn't know it. We had that
2.6. Who are you talking about?
We had it.
I was a 2.2.
It's like I would pass all my tests but do no homework. I was so bored. I didn't want to be there. I love to learn, but it has to be on my terms. Was that you as well?
That's it, man. I remember celebrating, coming home with my report card in 8th grade, slamming on the desk or at the house on the counter there, and bringing my mom over, and she had a big smile on her face. It was the first time I was really excited to show a report card, and I said, "Mom, look, there's a B on there." My mom gave me a big high five, and she goes, "Congratulations, honey, you're average."
Oh my gosh. I'm tempted right now to go on a whole rabbit trail about public education, especially today with technology. If you want to, maybe just for a minute, I'm super passionate about the idea that public education is kind of failing our kids. Not kind of, I'm just trying to be nice. I think it's totally failing them. It doesn't teach them financial education. It doesn't teach them risk-taking, intelligent risk-taking. It doesn't teach them entrepreneurism. It just kind of has them regurgitate historical ideas onto a piece of paper for a test, and then you get these letters. But it doesn't teach you social skills and how to be a leader or any of the dynamic stuff that you really need to know. For like your kids, you have young kids, for our kids to make it, they have to know this other stuff that's not even part of the curriculum in public schools. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, you hit the nail on the head, and I totally agree. And that's why when I spend my time with my son, I'm not the one that's doing the homework and stuff. My wife's really good at that. But when my son and my daughter and I talk in the car, a lot of times we're not listening to the radio, we're not listening to the music. I'm coaching them on business skills and how to close and how to understand and how to overcome objections and, all those things that have to do with business. And I'm totally with you. But, there is someone out there that's changing the paradigm of how the education system works. And I don't know if you're real familiar with a guy by the name of Nito Cobain.
No, okay. I'm not.
So Nito Cobain, Qubein, for any of the listeners that want to Google search him and learn about him, I would tell you that he's one of my mentors, and he's.
I do know him. I said his name different in my head than what you just pronounced it as. But yes, he's from down in Florida. He's on a board of a Liberty University or some sort of university or something.
No,
right?
He's the president of High Point University in High Point, North Carolina.
Okay, that's what it is.
And he is an amazing man. We'll get into my story here and unpack kind of the things that I've been doing. But I've gotten over the last 3 years to spend a lot of time with billionaires, and not a lot of people can say that, and I couldn't say that until about 3 years ago. But Nito Cobain is one of those men. He was voted top 10 most influential people in the world. Runs High Point University, is responsible, I think, for growing that university. I can't tell you how many percent, but he raised over $5.9 billion for that industry. That's a billion.
Wow.
Okay. So his idea is we have to train people how to act. We have to train leaders. We have to train them how to think, how to deal with customers, how to do all those things. So what he says is he doesn't educate, based on school. He educates people to be leaders. So he says, at his school, it was amazing. He brings in parents. Do I have a little bit of chance here to talk a little bit?
Yeah, no, this is completely fascinating. Go as deep as you want.
Awesome. So Coach Nito, he came into this university. They asked him to be president of the university, and he agreed. Now, this man is very successful. Just sold Great Harvest Bread Company. I can't tell you how many franchises they have, but I think he cleared about $600 million on that deal. And, he doesn't fly commercial. He sits on the board of BB&T Bank. He sits on the board of Lazy Boy Furniture. Just an amazing guy. Not only that, he's a keynote speaker, one of the most successful keynote speakers in the world. So when they asked him to become president of High Point University, he agreed, but he said he wanted to change some things. So the first thing he did is when they brought in all the students. So now when they bring in the students, now these are the students or potential students and their parents. And they're kind of, when you're going to university and you go from school to school and you're looking to see which one you want to go to.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. They call it a campus visit or whatever they call it. You're kind of shopping for a college, right?
Yes, yes. So Coach Nito says, I call him Coach Nito because he's one of my business coaches. So Nito Cobain, he comes up and he's a great speaker anyway. So he takes the stage and everybody's in the audience. And now think about this. These are all the potential students and their parents sitting there. And now who pays for school? It's not usually the kids, right?
Right. It's mama and daddy.
That's right. So he's speaking right to the parents. And he says very clear. He says we're different than most universities out there. Meaning, at most universities, your kids are going to go, they're going to get an education, and the whole intention is for them to get a great job. And that's what you've heard all of your life. Go out there, get good grades, work hard, so you can get the job of your life. Well, Nito says in a very clear way. He says if that's what you're looking for, then you're in the wrong place. Because here we don't create job takers. We're in the business of creating job makers. So if you want your child, your daughter, your son to change the world, then they're in the right place.
Ooh, man, I got goosebumps. I have goosebumps. I have goosebumps. Literally, I'm not kidding or being facetious at all. Like, it is so critical. People think I'm being cheesy. It means a lot to me that small business is not only the backbone of our country, but it changes communities. It changes your whole family tree. We get to write our own ticket. It's so applicable. It's such a huge deal in a free market capitalistic society to be able to do this stuff. And I feel like Americans don't realize that we live in the greatest land ever constructed by man to operate inside of that paradigm. Like, foreigners will come here and build businesses, and it's almost like we're numb to our own advantage sometimes.
Foreigners are 4 times as likely to become millionaires than born Americans. And that's what Nito says. If you watch one of Nito's keynote speeches, I mean, you can Google him on, just Google him and then hit video, and you'll see all his keynotes. And it's how he opens up his keynote. He says, immigrants to America are not once, not twice, not thrice, but 4 times as likely to become millionaires as born Americans. He says that right in his presentation, and he is an immigrant himself.
My gosh, I mean, keep going on this path. Tell us why he says that is, and can you also spell his name, because I know it's got a unique spelling, so that our listeners can search for it.
It's Nito, Nido, last name Qubein, Qubein. So Nito Cobain, and so pretty much what he says is, he came from America and had to teach himself English. He taught himself the English language on index cards and would memorize 6 new words every single day when he came here. And he knew that he wanted to be successful. He didn't know how. He didn't know the path. But what he did is he just focused, and his success has been incredible. But the best thing about Nito, the most amazing thing you'll understand if you get to spend personal time with a guy like this, is he's just genuine, and he has mastered the art of communication. And communication is the key to anything in success. If you can communicate and you can connect with people, you can get them to do whatever you want.
That's so true, man. Influence and having persuasive abilities, even in a tiny business, is a big, huge, giant deal, right? Can you speak to that?
Yeah. So, I will say that, communication for me, and that is where I've spent the last 3 years. I've really gone into diving deep into how do I use the skill of communication to connect with people. And as a public speaker, I've been speaking, all over the world. I think 20. I was trying to before this interview. I was trying to think how many countries have I been in. I think I've been in 27 different countries. I don't know how many cities in the last 3 years, but 3 years ago I didn't own a passport. So that tells you how much travel I've done.
Wow, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Do you get nervous when you speak now, or is it just a total exhilarating rush and you love every minute of it?
I'll be honest with you. Now, I speak to small rooms. I travel between 100 and 200 people on average. We do a couple big events every year for the organization I work for. So last year, we had one of our bigger events, and there's usually 1,800 to 2,000 people, and they have all the music, and it's playing, and I shared the stage last year with, John Travolta was our big guest. So I got to share the stage with John, and then 50 Cent was the main interview, and, we had Calvin Klein there. So we have all of these celebrities. So I'll be honest with you, when I'm backstage at that one and the music's pumping and I got to kind of jump through a screen to come up there, there's a long runway and the energy is electric. I'm nervous and to the point where I say my first word and I just say to myself, please let me just get that first word out so I can relax. But no, I still get butterflies at those events, but at the other ones, averaging, I don't know how many events that I do per month, but once you do it, it's like anything, Josh. Once you do it more and more and more, you get so much better at it. It's probably like your introduction to your podcast. I mean, I love hey, this is Joshua Latimer here. It's like this voice all of a sudden changes, and I'm like, dude, that guy's got it. I love it.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny. When I played football in high school, I'd want to throw out. I was a quarterback of our football team, and I always took it really serious. I went to practice early. I stayed late, just like with anything. I just wanted to win, We didn't, by the way. We were terrible, but that doesn't matter. But I was still nervous, and then as soon as we took the first snap, it was all numbed out. It was like it didn't exist. I was only focused on the game, and I imagine it's the same speaking, like you said. So
yeah, no doubt.
93 started cleaning business. You run it for many years, a couple decades into it, or you said around 2008, you really kind of automated it, and you only work like an hour or two a month just going over strategic planning now. Someone runs that whole business. You're doing this other thing, which has been your passion. Out of all of that experience, which you don't like the word experience because it makes you sound old, right?
Right. All of that, yeah.
You had mentioned to me in pre-interview that, marketing, sales, branding, that three-pronged set of content right there is kind of your bread and butter, your passion. So can we go down the marketing, sales, and branding road?
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to.
Okay, so go ahead. Go ahead and take it. But I mean, just from the perspective of service companies, home service companies that are out fighting the good fight, maybe they feel like it's just not working, or they can't grow, or their business is flat. This is a really common one. It's easy to grow for a couple years, and then they get stuck for a decade. Speaking to those people, what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. So, if I'm speaking to the young entrepreneur that's out there hustling and, Josh, we're both there. I mean, it came down to, and one of the things that I truly loved about business was, the thrill of the kill, going out there, the hunt. I love the fact that the more doors I knocked on, the more opportunities that I had. So for those guys listening, I just say, it's not about, what you're doing. It's not about, mastering the art of window cleaning or mastering the art of cutting grass or whatever the service industry that you're looking at. It's mastering the art of sales. I mean, if you can communicate and you can overcome objections and you can do all that, you can create a great business for yourself. Now, you hear what I said, Josh. I said business. I didn't use the J-O-B word, did I?
No, you didn't.
So most of the people listening here right now, and I'm going to get real for a second, most of the window cleaners or the small business owners, they have a job, meaning they're trading hours for dollars. And they will always have a job. And it's funny, Josh, because I hear some of your podcasts, and then I hear, I've been around the IWCA, the PWNA, I've been around all these people. And they almost take great pride in saying, hey, I do all my own work. I clean my own windows. I pressure wash the house. Nobody's as good as me. It'll always be me. And they pride themselves on staying small.
It's true, man. I wrote a blog called The Technical Perfection Deception. And it's all about how people are obsessed with ball bearings and PSI and, the angle of the grinding your lawnmower blade. I don't even know if that's a thing, but
yeah.
But that enslaves us. It entraps us, right? What if you get hurt? Your income's gone. It's not really a business when you're operating like that, is it?
No, it's a job. And Josh, so, you've coached so many people over the years. And I know one thing, Josh, that I really respect about you is you're kind of like this, you kind of walk the line between a left brain and a right brain, meaning you have both going for you. I'm all right brain. Put numbers in front of me, spreadsheets, you're going to look at a guy that's probably not real happy. I know I have to do it, but I don't love it. You kind of have that middle brain where you can kind of do both. So I know that when you've talked to people, you always get into the numbers and you always look at, hey, how many hours are you working in your job right now? How many windows can you clean? You only have so many hours in the day, right?
Right.
How many, and that's what people need to realize. There's only so many hours in the day. And yeah, if you do get hurt, then you don't have a business. If your business is just you, congratulations, you have a job. Now let's unpack it a little bit more. If we were to break down every hour that they're working, meaning when they get home, they answer the phone calls, then they send out the invoices, then they're driving around doing the estimates, all of that, you tie it in, and then we put an hourly wage to it based on how much they're pulling out of their company, and you're going to see an upset person when they look at that number and it's $6.85 or $10 an hour.
Right. And actually, a lot of times it's less than that because I've done what you just said, and it's sad. It's sad, but people post online, they say, oh, I just did this $1,000 job and it took me 5 hours and I made $200 an hour. But that's not true. They're talking from when their truck pulled into the driveway to when they loaded up their hoses and left. And it's not an apples to apples comparison.
No, absolutely not. And that is, I would say, if anything, if we can bust through that and we can change the mindset of the people listening, then congratulations, you've done half the battle. I mean, it's amazing. What you focus on in life is what you get. I'm a big believer in that. And if you focus on the fact that, you start saying stuff to yourself like, hey, you know what? There are no great employees out there. If I could only do it myself, I wish I could just clone myself. These are the things we hear from entrepreneurs all the time. Mm-hmm. And if they can change that mindset, and here's the thing, Josh, I'm speaking, firsthand. I mean, I remember when things were going tough and I had all these employees, and then, in the service industry, I always hated Monday mornings. I'm a pretty positive guy. I get out of bed excited for Monday, but you know what? I knew that I was going to walk in and, we're just coming off a weekend. I can't tell you how many of my employees lost multiple grandparents on that day. Like I would count how many grandparents died on Monday morning. I'm like, did you already lose like 6 grandparents? I mean, poor grandparents get thrown under the bus. Hey, my grandmother died. Okay, I can't make it into work on Monday.
Right. That is so. that's killing me because that's happened to me, and this is a shameful, dark memory for me. I'm ashamed to admit, but when I was 17 years old, I delivered pizzas. I used the grandma excuse one time to call into work, and I felt so dirty and ashamed of myself. But hey, if you're that guy, things can change because I actually was that guy at least that one time. Not normally, but that's really funny.
Hey, we've all been there, Josh. And I was a young kid, and a party sounded a lot better than going into Little Caesars Pizza and making pizza that night. So I might have been guilty of the same thing, but. So I always hated Mondays for the fact that, employees would call in sick. And I remember one Monday when, my business wasn't that large, and I had 4 crews out there, and a lot of times the crew leaders drove because the people that I employed to be with them maybe had a DUI or they weren't able to drive. And so when a crew leader called in sick, your life was pretty tough for a few minutes there. And I remember this one day when most of them didn't show up, and I just kind of lost it and just freaked out. And I remember saying in front of those employees, I wish I could just clone myself. It was just me. This business ran so good, and and I was saying all these things, and the problem was some of the key people that were helping me run my business that never ever missed a day and were always there. And there's only like 2 or 3 of them. That's all you need to build a great business.
Mm-hmm. I agree. You got to have your VIP people, and I've talked in the podcast before. My very first employee, I had my annual Christmas party for our company, and it was just him and me.
Yeah.
But even from then, like I didn't really understand anything, but I still had a clear vision that I was going to build something big. And I used to always tell my first 2 people, you guys are future executive leaders inside this organization, or there's going to be layers of leadership below you, and there's going to be crews below them. And they thought I was nuts, but you know what? Actually, the second person I hired ended up running the whole company. By the time I sold it, and he saw that whole thing manifest because I did communicate that vision. Do you think that's lacking? Are people's businesses not growing because the leadership is only focused on the technical side? I know we talked about that, or is it lack of communication or vision? What is it?
Well, I'll tell you what it comes down to, and it goes right into that. It goes right into that fact that when I was upset on that Monday morning, yelling in front of my employees, saying there's no good help out there. I should just clone myself. I'm just going to go back to being small. The problem is most people buy into that same mindset. It comes off their lips. They say it. It sounds right, but really it couldn't be the furthest thing from the truth. And what happened was when I was saying things like that, my main employees were hearing it. So now they're saying, well, geez, there are good people. I'm not a good employee. So what I would say for the people listening, the first thing we have to do is change the mindset. We have to quit playing small. We have to stop saying stuff like that. Now, I know that it's difficult finding great people, but you know what? They're out there. So what you have to start saying is like, you know what? There's great people out there. I just have to find them instead of saying I need to clone myself, or instead of just saying I'm going to do it myself because it's too much of an issue. Now, if you want a job the rest of your life, then that's fine. If you want to do that, but it's like you said earlier, fall off the ladder, you have nothing. And if we're creating businesses, then we have to make something happen. So yeah, to build a big business, I'll go back to where I first started. Sales can build any business, because without sales, do you have a business?
You have nothing. It's a total lifeblood. Totally agree.
You have nothing. So it always falls down to, sales, lead generation. Now, everything that happens after the sale obviously is critical, that we want to make sure that, we're getting repeat business, that we're creating some passive income, that we're giving value. All the things that happen after the sale are very important. But at the end of the day, sales is the lifeblood of any business. So luckily for me, I realized that I was bad at most things. I was bad at most things. Running my business, I was terrible at collecting money. And there was a time in my life, because I'm right-brained. For those of you listening, you understand, left brain is very analytical. Right brain is the kind of the socialite. That's why I do public speaking. I love to be in front of people. I love to be creating relationships. I'm always got a smile on my face. So was the best place for me trying to collect money?
No.
No.
Incompatible with that part of your brain.
Right. Do you think I had a smile on my face?
I'm guessing it was an upside-down smile.
It was an upside-down smile. I try to have a great attitude, but I can only handle following up with so many people when they would tell me the same thing over and over again. I'm going to age myself here, but they're like, I didn't get that fax yet. Can you fax the invoice over again? And, luckily now it's a quicker way to do it. I can email, but for the longest time it was collecting money. And I can tell you that because I was focused on something I wasn't good at, something bad happened. I wasn't collecting money. And it almost put me under, because I had to take I took a home equity line on my house to cover payroll when I was almost owed $100,000 worth of money, which is a great place to be in, because there's money that needs to come in. But because I was focused on the wrong things, it almost put me under. So one of the best things I ever did was got some business coaching. And the coach that I hired, the first thing they looked at is, why do you have so much money that's outstanding? And the reason why they had to figure that out so quickly is because they were trying to figure out how could they get paid for their coaching.
It was a self-preservation coaching.
That was it. And then once we unpacked that and figured it out, all it was for me was hiring a company at the time that was, they do the follow-up for you. And if they collect in 30 days, you don't pay anything. If it's 20 days, or if it's 60 days out, you pay a percentage. 90 days out, you pay a higher percentage. And all of a sudden I realized, just by having somebody else do something that I wasn't good at, that the money started coming in. So I focused on what I was good at. So what I did is I created a stop doing list. Most people have a to-do list. Well, a to-do list is transactional. Everything I put on that list, hey, make this call, do this, sit down with this person. It's all transactional. But if you have a stop doing list, that is transformational. So now you're transforming your life. So my list was, stop doing the accounting, stop doing the bookkeeping, stop answering the phone, stop, everything that I didn't want to do. And then my only thing left on my list was relationships and sales. And that's what I was good at. I had no business doing all that other stuff. Once I realized that, my life changed.
Oh, my word. That is so good. I've never even heard of a stop doing list, but that makes total sense. Putting something on that list creates more time for yourself and takes away stress from yourself. So you can reinvest that into what you are good at. And a to-do list, it consumes more and more of your time. Like, it never really ends. You just keep adding to the bottom of it. That's awesome. I love that.
And that's transformation. As business owners, we're looking for transformational. At the end of the day, you shouldn't be doing anything that doesn't build your business, that doesn't feed your brain, and doesn't move you forward. And that goes for your whole life, too. I mean, when I started focusing on the stop doing list, and my wife will tell you, there's a lot of things that I just don't do what I don't like to do.
Hey everybody, Josh here. Sorry, this interview got interrupted. Now, it's going to continue, but we had to reconnect using a cell phone, so Jason's audio sounds a little different. Apologize, but that's the way it goes sometimes on the internet. Just wanted to explain. So we actually dropped the call completely, and then we pick it up right here.
Yeah, so basically, on my, stop doing list was I kind of got addicted to all the things I could stop doing. And once I realized, every time I stopped doing something, I'd move forward and I'd have more time to do either what I love to do and enjoy and what I had to do in business, which was focus on sales and some of the other things. So what happened to me is I got addicted to this stop doing list and I started, stop doing all the things that I didn't like. So all I was doing was focusing on sales and then marketing and branding, which were the things that I truly loved in my business. And then what I did is started focusing on some of the things at home as well. So when I would get home, it would be like, you know what, if I'm traveling and I'm going to all these places and I'm working, long hours, if that were the case, when I come home, I just want to be present and I want to be home with my kids and my family and have fun. And I remember one Saturday morning waking up and I could hear a dump truck just backing up into my driveway, dropping off all of this lava rock. And if you don't know what lava rock is, like this landscape rock that they put around, but long story short, they are little rocks, and you have to. My wife says to me, she's like, "Hey, we're gonna go out there with shovels, and I got the wheelbarrow. We're gonna go ahead and splatter them around the whole yard." And I just looked at her like, "Are you kidding me? I mean, that doesn't sound like any fun to me." And she's like, "Well, we have to get it done." And I was like, "Cal, there's people that can do that." I said, "My employees are always looking for work on the weekends." I said, "I just throw them some cash; they'll do it." And it was funny because, and so. I called some of my employees. They came over and did it. And I remember at the time, my wife wasn't real happy with that decision. And, she might have said that I was a little lazy or something. And I just said, I'm not lazy. I'm just smart. Let's have some fun. And the reason why we work so hard is so we don't have to do the things in life that we don't want to do.
And you know what the really ironic part about this ideology, I guess, this mindset, is that you actually make more money when you operate with this type of thing. So it's not about being lazy or outsourcing everything and just wasting all this money on these other people. And I think when you have the JOB mentality, they're so scared to spend money or really invest to create space for themselves. They're so scared to do it, they never do it. But when you do it, you can make more money. It's not work for you to sell and to network and make relationships. And you'll make 100-fold the kind of money you would during the 4 hours you would have been shoveling rocks, right?
Oh, absolutely. And that's what it's all about. And it's funny because you said, don't have that entrepreneur mentality. Here's the thing. How many entrepreneurs do you know, Josh, that really don't have the entrepreneur mentality? Meaning that, they're out there, they're hustling, they're creating a business, they're creating, I like to say they're creating a business, but most of them are creating a job for themselves. And the reason is it's what you've been taught your whole life, man. It's like they're programmed, and we're all programmed in a certain way. Hopefully what happens is, if you do go down this path, you do start a business of your own. And what happens now is you start getting influenced by other people around you. And so hopefully you're hanging around more entrepreneurs. You're going to the PWA, the big events. There's so many of them now, and IWCA that are feeding you. So what happens now is you start getting trained by other people around you, where your whole life you were being taught by your parents. And maybe your father, like my father was an accountant. He was a CPA. I'm not a CPA, but he was an accountant. And, I learned from him my whole life, and he didn't really teach me how to be an entrepreneur. Do I have a second here, Josh, to share a story that I think will really impact the audience? Oh,
absolutely. Go rock it out.
Okay. So my brother and I, when we were younger, one of the things that we had to do, I came from that, my father was one of those guys that said, hey, you know what, get out there on the weekend and cut the grass. And I was living in Orlando, Florida. And on the weekends, it was either me or my brother that had to go out and cut the grass. So, my dad would wake us up every morning at like 7:30, 8 o'clock on a Saturday. And you're like, are you kidding me?
Oh,
and my
that's
dad
the worst when you're a kid.
He's like, get out there and cut the grass. And you're like, are you kidding me? I get up every morning for school, and my dad would give us the option. He'd say, listen, I'm waking you up now because it's Orlando, Florida. Now, Josh, I know you live in Michigan. You haven't seen the sun in a while, so I apologize for the story in advance. I'm just razzing you, Josh. I'm a Michigan boy myself, but I live in Southwest sunny Florida now, so I can say those guys.
Yeah. And you did mention that you were not coming back to Michigan, so.
I want to hang out with you, brother.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah. There you go. So here's the thing. So now my dad tells me, hey, get out there early so you beat the heat, and it's so sunny. And if you wait till later in the day, you're going to be dying out there. And so every day, my brother, he's 2 years older than me. So what did we do? Do you think we went out there and cut the grass early in the morning, or did we just wait?
I'm guessing that you waited.
Yep, we waited. I'd like to say that I got up early and I was a go-getter, but you know what? We waited. So I remember one day, now my dad gave us about $10 to cut the grass. So 1 week it's my weekend, the next weekend's my brother's weekend. So now when it's my brother's weekend, I get out there. My brother waited till later. So at the time, now I'm going to age myself again. I was playing this Atari 2600. That was our game. I was probably playing, Galaga or Defender or something on my Atari 2600. I remember my brother going outside. And from the living room, you can see the sliding glass doors. My brother's out there, and he's cutting the grass, and it's kind of like as brothers do, it was kind of fun to watch my brother work all day when I could just sit there and play video games in the air-conditioned house.
Right.
So I'm out there, right? So I just start playing this video game, and I'm playing, and all of a sudden, my brother goes out for a second. He's out there for a couple minutes, and then all of a sudden I see him come back in, and he sits beside me and grabs the joystick. And I look over, and I'm like, bro, dude, are you crazy? Dad is going to kill you if you don't get this grass cut. You are going to be in trouble, dude. And he goes, nah, man, take a look outside. So I get up, I look outside, and there's our little neighbor, Tony, that lived down the street. Now, Tony's got a big old smile on his face. He's pushing the lawnmower through the dirt and debris and grass. And my brother's sitting inside with me, and I'm like, what would you do? And he goes, bro, you're not going to believe this. I paid that dude $5. I'm keeping $5, and I'm going to be in here playing games when he's out there cutting the grass.
That reminds me of the Tom and Huck, Huckleberry Finn, the stories where he'd get the other people to paint the fence for him and convince him it was like really fun to paint a fence so he didn't have to do it.
Exactly. So my brother says that. I look at my brother, I'm like, bro, you're a genius. He goes, yeah, I just got that guy out there. Now I can come in here and play games, and who cares? I still got $5. I high-five my brother. We're excited. We just came across the biggest thing ever, and I'll be honest with you. That was one of the biggest life lessons I ever learned, which is meaning if you don't want to do something, it's not what you're good at, it's not what you want to do, and you could pay somebody and make, half. I just had to get one more lawn care job, and all of a sudden I'd make the same amount. I do nothing but sit in there and play my Atari 2600.
That's right, man.
So this to me was amazing. And me and my brother got to celebrate and play that game just for long enough for my dad to walk in the door.
Now, what was your dad's reaction? I got to hear this part.
Well, that's what I'm getting to. What do you think my dad said when he saw our neighbor kid cutting grass and me and my brother were playing video games in the air-conditioned house? What do you think my father's reaction was?
My guess was that he thought he was failing you as a dad and that you were being lazy failures and how dare you, when really my reaction would be, oh my God, you guys are geniuses. I'd be high-fiving my kids, but he wasn't an entrepreneur, so I'm guessing he was not happy?
You hit the nail on the head, brother. So as what happened, my dad grabbed my brother by the back of the neck, marched him outside, and actually told Tony to go home, told my brother to cut the grass. And if I remember the story correctly, I didn't have to cut grass too often on the weekends because my brother was punished and he had to do it from now on. Not only did he have to do it from now on, but he didn't get paid for his time.
Ooh.
So now...
And your dad's heart was in the right spot. He was trying to be a good dad to you and to teach you hard work. And I totally get that, but that really undid the whole epiphany your brother had and set him up to be even more entrenched in the JOB mentality, right?
And that's the problem that most people, we have parents like that. My father loved me to death. I don't think he was ever trying to hurt us, but he didn't come from an entrepreneur. His father worked all day. You get rewarded for hard work. That's not how entrepreneurs think. Now, here's the thing. If you and I send our son out there or daughter to go out there and cut the grass and they come back in with that, what do you and I do?
I'm literally celebrating, high-fiving, and buying ice cream for my kid.
You just hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what I would do. And I would tell my son, I would sit him down. I said, congratulations, son. You just figured out what business is all about. Now, here's the thing, Josh. There are listeners right here, right now, that haven't figured that out yet. They're the same ones that have this mentality is I'm going to go out there, I'm going to work my butt off, I'm going to knock on more doors, I'm going to wash the windows, I'm going to pressure wash the house, I'm going to cut the grass, I'm going to do whatever. They're doing every single thing based on what society has told them to do. You want to change your current circumstances? It starts right now. You have to change your mentality before anything else will change.
Well, let me ask you this to get some practical nuggets here before we go, because I know you're really busy and you're probably got to hang out with the family. What does someone do if they're not a sales ninja like you are? I mean, you like to go on the hunt, you said. Small business owners, they wear many hats. They have to, in the very, very, very beginning, if you have limited funds, you kind of got to spin up the machine by doing kind of everything. You're the cleaner, you're the HR guy, you change your own brake pads, you do the sales, the marketing, the customer service, the bookkeeping. But as you start to grow a little bit, what if you're not that sales ninja? How do we, are you screwed? Is there no hope?
Yeah, so here's the thing. There's a great app out there right now. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's called Send Jim.
Oh, I have heard of it. Your check is in the mail, Jason.
So here's the thing. You have to embrace technology. You have to embrace the things out there. So no, if you're not good at sales, now that's the thing here's the thing. There's a lot of entrepreneurs out there that just are not good at sales. there are a lot of these left brain guys that are great at running companies. So what you have to do is you have to figure out, one, is this, let's say, Josh, now let's say you're a great salesman. I know you're good at sales. Now let's say you come into my organization, and right now I'm not really doing that well because I'm not good at sales. I'm knocking on all the doors, but I don't know how to overcome objections. My personality gets in the way. I'm more left brain than right, and I'm not able to close the sales. Now you come to me and I bring you in and you say, hey, Jason, I need $400 a week. I need a company car, and I want 10% of everything I bring in. And at first, here's how most entrepreneurs think. They're like, oh, my gosh, that's going to cost me so much money.
Mm-hmm.
But in reality, you and I both know that doesn't cost us money.
That's right.
That makes us money.
Yep.
And what you have to figure out is you have to start asking yourself, does this cost me money or does this make me money? If it costs you money, then you have to be careful when you do it, especially with like advertising and marketing. If it's costing you money, that's why you have to understand and know your numbers and make sure you're figuring out, what is your customer cost of acquisition. I know you go into that, and there's plenty of podcasts that you've done on those, and I love them because it's so important that we know our numbers. But at the end of the day, if you're not good at something, you have to find somebody else who's great at that. Steve Jobs said it best. We don't hire people. We don't hire people and tell them what to do. We hire smart people so they can tell us what to do.
Ooh, that's good.
And that's the same thing.
Yeah, we got to get out of their way.
For any business. That's it. That's it. Let them do their thing.
Small businesses, too, they're just packed with people that are micromanaging, stand over the shoulder, critical, technically focused people. And I think the people that listen to the show like this really aren't that necessarily, but I'm telling you, there's hordes of these small businesses out there and that's why they're stuck, and that's why they can't grow, and that's why they're 2 weeks away from being bankrupt. And the SBA has a crazy statistic that out of the, I think it's 27 million businesses in the United States, 22 million of them are 2 weeks away from having no money in their primary business checking account. And it's because of this mindset. That has to be why. It's the mind. But I also feel like that's such a mystical, murky word, and maybe people don't know what it means. They're like, Jason, how do I change my mindset? What does that even mean? Like, I have no idea what to do. What do they do first?
Yeah, change your circle of influence. Who are you surrounding yourself with? Who you surround yourself with in life is who you become. I'll go back to Nido Cobain. Nido Cobain will tell you. One of the things that he'll talk about is, you take a koi fish. A koi fish, you put it into a fish bowl, and it only grows to about an inch. You take that same koi fish out of the fish bowl, and you put him into a lake. He grows to about 1 foot in size. This is the same koi. Why? Because the koi fish grows proportionate to the environment in which it lives. Now, here's the thing. Entrepreneurs tend to live in this small little bubble. They do everything themselves. A lot of them don't even read books. I mean, that's when I started changing. The first time I read a business book, I'll be honest with you, the first time my life really changed was in 2005 when I went to my first International Window Cleaning Convention. Now, I'm not plugging International Window Cleaning Convention, but I'm saying it's the first time that I realized that my circle of influence was not good because I wasn't getting this information. I even fought my brother. My brother had a successful window cleaning business. Uncle Squeegee's Window Cleaning in Michigan, right by where you're from. The trucks, I think, are still on the road. If you've ever seen Uncle Squeegee's Window Cleaning
I have heard of him. Absolutely. That's funny. I had no idea, but I've heard of that, yeah.
That's my brother, Jeff. That was his company. He sold it since. But, my brother begged me to go to one of these conventions, and I looked at him. I said, bro, I know everything, man. I'm doing good. What do I need that for? And he's like, oh, maybe we'll learn something. It'll be fun. And it's funny because two things happened. One, I realized that I was nowhere near as smart as I gave myself credit for. There was a lot I needed to learn, and it opened up my eyes to a ton of different stuff. I mean, I think I walked out of there. I must have put $5,000 on my credit card. I think I bought my website. I got my first water-fed pole. I got, my brother, I think I got a scratch removal system. My brother's like, dude, you need to settle down. I'm like, this is amazing. Look at all these businesses. Look at, it was my first thing. But here, Josh, this is the other thing. I travel the world speaking as a public speaker. But at that convention is where I first, it's where I saw Rudy Rudiger. Now, you know the movie Rudy, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, we had Rudy Rudiger as the speaker at that IWCA convention for the first time. And he took the stage, and I don't know if maybe he had a bad day or what was going on, but I didn't think that he was the most incredible speaker that I've ever seen in my life. I almost thought that it wasn't really that great of a presentation. And I looked over at my brother and I said, dude, I could do that. And my brother, being the supportive brother that he is, he goes, bro, you could totally do that. I had never spoken on stage in my life. But that day, I decided that I was going to become a professional motivational speaker. And I'm proud to say that 2 years later, I was on that same stage as the keynote.
Oh, wow. That's awesome, man. But I loved what you first said. You got to change your circle of influence. Guys and girls who are listening to this, that is step one, okay? Don't keep listening to stuff and learning more business tips and tricks and reading all this stuff if you don't do that first. If you're in a little tiny fishbowl full of dirty water, you can't grow. It's impossible. I know that it's so hard to break a relationship off, or maybe a friend you've had from high school who's dragging you down. Maybe most of the people in your life are taking from you. They're sucking out of you, not adding to you. I always say, if you're the smartest person in the room, get a new room. And then there's the famous Jim Rohn quote, I think it's Jim Rohn, who says you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And it's so true. When you hang out with billionaires, it's not that big of a deal to start thinking in terms of billions instead of millions, right? I mean, it's normal to them. That's how they look at it. When he looks at a bread company, Mr. Nito, Great Harvest, you said? I didn't realize that that was his business. He didn't say, all right, cool, if we work really hard for a couple decades, I bet we can get 2-3 locations opened up in Southwest Florida. Come on, guys, let's do it, right? From the beginning, he's thinking, okay, total global domination, best bread ever. How do we do this? That mentality doesn't come natural to a lot of us. So that's really good. What about branding? How important is branding to local service companies? And then we can wrap it up.
Yeah, I mean, branding is huge. Branding is there's one thing, marketing, you put marketing out there and advertising, and it's kind of like you're pushing out there, and then you're pulling people to come back. You're trying to pull people in, when your brand is what is being said about you that's out there. So, there's a few things that you can look at. You can have brand awareness, where some people know about your brand, and that's not a real big deal. A lot of people know about your brand. But then you can have, brand influence. So you have your brand is influencing other people. And then you have, brand insistency, where people insist on your brand. And if you can keep, creating a good brand. Now, when I say brand, it goes to, here's a perfect example. Perfect example is if I meet you, Josh, and I see you as Josh that runs this window cleaning company, and I'm impressed. The first thing I'm going to do is go home and I'm going to Google Josh, and I'm going to find out, what is Josh when he's outside of his work? And I do this with people I do business with all the time. And if your brand online is different from one, the way I perceive you in person, the way your website perceives you, and then all of a sudden Josh, maybe he's the window cleaner, or let's say it's Josh the coach, and then you start putting on there, thank God it's Friday, I can't wait for the weekend, work's over, and you have that mentality. Well, that's your brand speaking for you. So I think most people don't understand that your brand follows you, not just in your business, but outside. Like, go to my Facebook. I mean, you'll never, I don't think you could ever go back. I mean, I've been on Facebook for, 7, 8, maybe 9 years. I don't think you'd ever find a negative post from me, because I just don't do it. Because my brand is positivity. My brand is, I enjoy my family. I enjoy life. So branding is super huge. Now, that's a personal standpoint. Now, your business brand is great, because if you have, brand insistency, which means people will go out of your way for your brand, that's amazing. But there's there's one more level of branding, and that's brand advocacy. And that's when you get people to talk about you. The only way you do that, Josh, is by creating better relationships, communicating better with your customer, so you totally understand that you have their best interest at heart. They like you, they love you, they'll go out of their way to refer you. And it doesn't come down to the clean windows. It doesn't always come down to the fact that you clean screens and other people don't. It doesn't come down to the cleanest roofs. It comes down to how you make people feel.
Oh,
and
my
if you make
word!
them feel great, yeah.
It's raining value right now. You're just it's like thunderstorming value. We need umbrellas.
It's raining men. Raining value. I like that.
That's so good, man. I just hope, I'm always worried people won't apply what they're listening to right now. Do you realize how hard it is to pin down Jason, to get him to speak with us for a few minutes? But it's all useless if you just keep doing the same things you're doing. I tell people all the time. In fact, last fall I did a webinar called The Gratitude Effect, and it was all about relationship marketing, not just marketing, relationship, going deep, playing the long game, not trying to take, figuring out how you can add value. How can you be genuinely thankful for your client's business? How can you nurture and invest in the relationship over the long haul? And I've seen this in my own life many times, continuously, because this is how I operate. The reward, the ROI is indescribably high. It's you can't even really measure it, but it's just big. It's huge. When you get people that are just little speakers out there, broken records, advocating for your brand or for your company, it's huge. That's how you create real momentum. But we're also trained, I think, Jason, to be transactionally minded instead of relationally minded. And so we chase the dollars, we chase the check, and then we go hunting to get another set of dollars. But we're really hurting ourselves in the long run, I think, right?
But life's all about, it's funny. If you start looking into Nito Cobain, you're going to hear, if you research, your listeners that are here, hopefully today they get off it, and the next time they do a workout or they go for a run tonight, they just start playing a YouTube video of Nito's keynote speech. And you're going to hear a lot of the stuff that I've just said is from him. Why? Because he's been my coach for the last 3 years. I've been fortunate enough to hang out with him personally at business retreats. I've been able to see him. I've shared some of the same stages with him, and he's just amazing. I mean, all that brand consistency, brand awareness, brand advocacy comes from Coach Nito. So here's the thing. You have to make sure that you're constantly putting yourself out there and learning more things. The other thing that you just touched on, and this is what Coach Nito calls it, it's relational capital. If you have relational capital, congratulations, then you are going to be successful in life. Coach Nito calls 5 people every single day. Every single day he reaches out to 5 of his contacts, and not to sell them, but to add value to their life, to just let them know they're thinking about it. Think about you, Josh. If you went through your database right now, and you probably do this already, and just reach out to 5 people every single day and just add value to their life, do you think your life will change?
It'll completely change because I've done it. I've lived it. I have a database of all the important relationships in my life. And when we're done with this interview, one of the things that I plan on doing is getting a mailing address for you so I can mail you a gift. I'm not just making that up right now. This is part of how you do business. I don't even have an idea of me and you doing business someday, but it doesn't matter. Right. You're a person of value. You're someone that is like-minded. I want to know you. I want you to know me. And so that's how I approach relationships.
Yeah, well, you know what, Josh, there's a reason why I'm on this call, and I turned most of them down, and obviously because I say no a bunch of times, and I said, it's not you, it's just that my schedule is so crazy. I flew in yesterday from Dallas. Now, just to give you an idea of last week's schedule, I don't know if you follow me on Facebook at all, but I was in Sweden for 2 days. So I was there on a Saturday. Then on Sunday, I get up and I fly to the next town. So when I fly over to London. So then I was in London. I did a 2-day event. Now, my events are long, man. I'm there at 8 in the morning. And I don't get done sometimes till 6, 7 at night, and it's mostly me speaking. Then I get on a plane that night after the second day, so that means I got to carry my luggage to the room that I'm speaking in. Then I got on a plane. Then I go to Dallas. Then I spoke in Dallas Denver. So I speak in Denver for 2 days. Then after those 2 days, I flew out and I went to Chicago. Then I did a 1-day coaching session in Chicago, and then I fly back home. I'm here yesterday. I got home at 12, and then I'm here. And then I'm here till Sunday. Sunday I fly to Marbella, Spain. I'm in Spain for 4 days. I fly from Spain over to Dallas. I do 2 days in Dallas. From Dallas, I fly over to Toronto, and I do a 1-day coaching. Then I fly home, and it repeats itself. So the only reason, well, here's the thing. I'm not saying that for any other reason to say the only reason I'm on this call, and this is what every one of your listeners needs to understand, is you have the ability to create relational capital. And here's why. Every time you sent me a message asking me to do something, you gave me value first. You gave me value by complimenting me. Jason, I don't know you very well, but man, I know that you're the guy to talk to. I'm hearing your name in certain circles. You're the kind of guy that's making things happen, and you tied into one thing. It wasn't about you, Josh. It was always about your listeners. And that's why I'm on this call, because it comes down to relational capital. And I know that you're one of these guys that's making a lot of things happen, and I feel the same way you do. After this call, who knows what will happen, but I always find out that it only takes one opportunity, one person to change your life. And for me, that person was JT Fox. That's the guy I'm working for now. JT Fox. It's JT, last name Fox, 2 X's. And he's the person who gave me a chance to speak and go all around the world. And, he's one of these guys. He created his first million by the time he was 23, his first 10 million by the time he was 27, and, his first 100 million by the time, I don't even know when he created that, but now he's got 53 companies. He's 34 years old, and he's just a dynamite guy. It's just, who you surround yourself with is who you become. There's nothing more I can say.
I have nothing to add. Just thank you for your generosity. Thank you for the kind words. It's pointless for me to add on to that. That was a great exit ending. If people want to try to connect with you, even though it might be difficult, or follow you, should they go Facebook, Twitter? What do you think?
Well, here's the thing. I'll be honest with you. Facebook lets you have 5,000 friends, and I maxed that out about a year and a half ago, so I have like 2,000 pending. I haven't created a Facebook fan page at this point. But Coastline Window Cleaning has a fan page. That's the name of my company. So it's Coastline Window Cleaning. That has a fan page if you wanted to reach out to me, or that would probably be the best way. But I think on Instagram, I use Instagram once in a while, but I know that they let you have some followers if you can find Jason Evers on Instagram. I don't even know what my name is on that. I use it because my 14-year-old daughter, the only way to hang out and interact with her is through my Instagram account.
Well, I'll track it down. I'll track it out, and I'll try to post a link in the show notes, everybody, if you have any questions. Jason, thank you. You've been generous. Everybody look up Nito Cuban. I'll put links in the show notes as well, so make all this really easy for you guys. Change your environment. Get into a different fishbowl. Take action and focus on sales and marketing. Create a stop doing list for yourself. Do what you're very best at and say no to everything else. You're going to have explosive, massive growth. I actually need to apply this to myself and my current software business. I do way too much work, too many hours doing lower level things. So I personally got a lot of value out of this because we are ready to blow that company up. So Jason, thank you, my friend.
My pleasure, Josh. My pleasure. Thanks, brother.
Wasn't that a great show? I mean, it was thunderstorming value. So much stuff to learn. A lot of things that maybe we already knew, but we forget, and we forget to apply. I hope you guys got a lot out of that. Can you do me a favor? Can you share the podcast? Can you give me a review on iTunes? That would be tremendous. A lot of effort goes into these. I love doing them. It's one of the funnest things I do. Your part could be just to give us a good review on iTunes and to share it. Lastly, I want to make sure that you come to sendgym.io/pre-launch this Thursday night. Even if you're listening to this in the future, that URL will still work. And we're basically explaining how SendGym, my software company, helps you automate all of your marketing, but also your customer follow-up. And we have a new feature that is insane called Voicemail Bomb. And it lets you send ringless voicemails to your customers. After you're done with a job, they can automatically deliver a voicemail without their phone actually ringing, saying, hey, thanks for letting us do work for you. Let us know if you have any questions or concerns. Give us a call. It can also send a voicemail a year later, reminding them of their next appointment. Or you could select 2,000 people at one time on the first sunny day of spring and tell them to call you for a special or to get on the spring schedule. It's really endless. I'm going to demo it and explain it to you. If you don't have a SendGym account for a very short time, we're giving away lifetime memberships, which will go away. So I'm not trying to be a cheesy sales guy here to you, but I know that you need this tool. It's very powerful. We have a lot of momentum. I hope to see you this Thursday, sendgym.io/pre-launch. Hey, thanks for hanging out, friends. And from all of us here at the Quick Talk Podcast team, we hope you loved today's show. We hope that you were inspired to become a doer and not just a listener. Apply what you've heard today in your own business and watch things change for the better. Lastly, remember that all the money in the world can't save your soul. Seek first the kingdom of God, my friends. We'll see you next time.
For more information about the Quick Talk Podcast or Joshua's other businesses, visit our website, quicktalkpodcast.com. Have a blessed day.